it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my collaboration with my friend Kari of KWCardDesigns. For our projects today, we wanted to combine a newer set with an older set, so I chose Lawn Fawn's Hey There and Critters on the Farm. I've stamped my images out on some Copic-friendly cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with some Copic markers today. The first combination that I'm using are some warm grays. I'm using W00, W1, W3, W5, and W7. I'm starting with the W3, which is the darkest of my lightest three shades, and I'm shading in the white parts of my cow. So I just added a few shadows here and there, and then I'm going to blend that out with the W1, and then I'll finish with the W3. I'm not going to cover the whole cow because I still want him to look white. I just want him to have some nice dimension to him. When I finish up with him, I'm going to color in my sheep and my hen in the same way. So while I'm doing that, I'm just going to talk to you guys really quick about this collaboration. So Kari and I actually met through our mutual love of Lawn Fawn products, and by met I say met online. We've never actually met in person, although someday we hope to, but just by sharing our projects on social media, we kind of came under each other's radar and kind of formed a friendship, and she has become someone that is really dear to my heart. And I would count her as one of my best crafty friends and even one of my closest friends outside of the crafting industry. We've grown close as we love to exchange cards and just kind of send each other encouraging messages. And it's wonderful to have somebody that you know is in your corner and is rooting for you and wants to see you succeed and, you know, reach your goals. So I'm so thankful to have her in my life. So Kari has been having a Lawn Fawn week over on her channel. So all week long she's been posting a video a day using Lawn Fawn products, and they've been really fun. So if you haven't checked those out, I highly encourage you to go on over there. And I know that there's going to be some prizes as well. So I'll have a link to Kari's end of the collab in the description bar right below the video, so you can check it out from there. But getting back to our coloring, now I'm going in with the W7, my darkest shade, and I'm starting to do a little bit of shadow on the black spots on my cow. I wanted it to be a Holstein cow, so I'm going to start with that W7 and then blend out with the W5, just filling all of those in. I'm also going to use those two shades to color in her hooves and the tip of her tail as well. So when I'm coloring multiple images like this, instead of just concentrating on one image at a time and having to pull out my colors over and over again, I usually tend to prefer to color in everything that I need to color with those markers all at once. That way I don't have to keep getting them out over and over. So while I have these grays out, I'm also going to color in my little sheep. I love black face sheep, so I'm going to color him to look like that, and I'm going to color his hooves and also the little piggy's hooves with the W5 and W7, and then I also brought in the W3 for the sheep's face. I'm using the W3 and the W1 to color in the sheep's legs, so I'm going to have those be a little bit darker shadowed since they're underneath his wool. And then to help his wool look extra fluffy, I'm going to do some little upside down C shapes right across his body with that W3, and then I'm going to go over each of those with the W1 and then the W00 to kind of help it blend a little bit better. But I think that looks extra cute. I added some shadows with the W1 and W00 for my egg. And then I'm bringing in YR00, YR01, and YR02 for the muzzle of my cow. I'm using that YR02 just on the outside edges really sparingly, and then blending that out with the YR01 and finishing with the YR00. I felt like that was still a little bright, so I did bring in the YR000 and just went over the center of that to lighten it up a bit. And then I'm also going to use those same 4 shades to color in my pig. I've been searching for such a long time for the perfect shades of markers to color in a pig. I want it to be kind of a peachy pink. I would say this is a little bit more on the peachy side, and I haven't found quite the right combination that I'm looking for. So if you guys have a great combination for pigs, please let me know in the comment section below, because I'm not finding what I'm looking for. Maybe it doesn't exist, but I think it's got to be out there, because I've seen other people color pigs and I see it's got that peachy pink tone that I'm going for. But this isn't a bad combination either, it works. So I just colored him darkest to lightest from the outside edges towards the center. Next, I'm bringing in my favorite red combo, R29, R39, and R59 to color in my barn. I'm starting with that R59 and putting some shadow right up under the roof, and then also on the crosshatch of the door. And then I'll come in with that R39 and begin to blend that out. So in this case, I'm having my highlight be down towards the bottom, since the sun would bounce off of that rather than right under the roof line. The roof line would be shadowed. Then I'll come in with that R29, which is that really pretty bold red that's going to be a really great pop of color on my card. I'm going to color in really carefully around the hayloft because I don't want to get any color on that lighter area that's going to be yellow, because it's going to be hard to take away if I get any on that. Also the same with that crosshatch on the door, just being really careful not to get any on there. And then I'll color in the comb and the wattle of the chicken with the R39 and R29. For my yellows, I'm using Y11, Y13, and Y15. So I'm just going to shade in my little chicks. I'm putting the darkest shadow down their backs and shading, well, the one that's facing forward, I'm just shading from the right to the left, but the other two I'm just shading in the direction that they're facing. And then I'll also color in my hayloft that way. I'm just using the Y13 and the Y15 for that since it's really small. And then I'll do the hay bale with those same 3 shades. So I'm using the Y15 down at the bottom, just doing a nice shadow, kind of also carrying that up a little bit where the string is tying the bale together, and also on the top. And then I'll blend up with the Y13 and finish everything off with the Y11. I'll use YR04 to color in the beaks of all the little chicks and chicken, and also the feet of the little chick that's facing forward. I had originally thought to color in the roof of the barn in some browns, but I ended up deciding not to introduce another color into the palette. I thought that it would look a little more cohesive to stick with what I already had. So I just went back to my W7 and W5. And finally, I'm just going to add the R20 to bring in some rosy cheeks on all of my critters. I like to do that. I just think it makes them look extra cheerful and fun, so even though it's not natural, it adds an extra bit of playfulness to the cards, I think. And then I'll just trim these out with the matching dies. I wanted to do a comic strip style card today, so I'm using the Lawn Fawn Peekaboo backdrops, and I've die cut that out of some pale blue cardstock. And then I've also trimmed out the little picket fence border and 2 grassy hills using the Lawn Fawn Stitch Hillside Borders dies. So the little picket fence only die cuts the top, so I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and trim that out. Then I'll take some liquid glue. I'm using the new Lawn Fawn glue tube. I got this recently and I've been wanting to try it out and see how I like it. So I'll add one of the grassy hillsides right on top of that, and then I'll press that down into place once I have it lined up. I'll add some more liquid glue to the back of that and then grab my rectangle and just get that situated where I want it. I'm going to hold it there and allow the glue to adhere for a minute, and then I'm going to trim off the excess so that I can use it on the square. So again, just add a little bit of liquid glue to the back of that, and then I'll line that up and just place it right where I want it. And I'm going to let those dry for a minute, and then I'll trim off the excess from the sides. Then I'm going to work on the bottom two, so I'm going to use the other grassy hillside for that. This time I'm going to add the glue directly onto the rectangle and square. I thought that would just make it easier. And then I'm going to set the whole panel right in place over top of both of them. And once those dry, I can trim those out as well. So to do that, I'm just flipping them over to the back and cutting right alongside the blue panel. And I'll do that for all four. Before I start the assembly, I wanted to work on my sentiment, so I'm going to heat emboss that on some black cardstock. So I just treated that with my EK Success powder tool really quick so that I wouldn't have any excess embossing powder stick where I don't want it. And then I'm stamping that down in some Versamark ink, and then I'll coat that with that white heat embossing powder. And give that a blast with my heat tool until the powder is all melted and shiny. While I have my MISTI out, I'm going to stamp the inside of my card. I'm using Lawn Fawn's Moonstone ink for that. And I'm stamping the happy birthday sentiment as well as the little goat and the can. And these are all from the Hey There stamp set. And I just stamped that twice to get a good impression. For the assembly, I'm going to start with my original frame and add some glue to the back of that. I will say that this glue does come out nice and thin, so it's really easy to use. And I'm going to line that up with the edges of my card and just press that down into place nice and smooth. Then I'm going to take the tube and just fill in each of those squares and rectangles. And then I can grab the little scenes that I did and pop those right into place. And you'll see that when I put the top two panels in that the fence doesn't line up perfectly, but it's going to get covered up with images anyway, so you're not going to notice in the final card. Then I'm going to bring in 2 additional frames, and I die cut these using Lawn Fawn's Blue Jay cardstock. Originally, I thought I was going to use both of those. I'm going to end up only deciding to use one. I like to use nice thick cardstock, so with the additional layer, it actually was thick enough, and the card was feeling fairly heavy, and I didn't want to bulk it up too much for mailing purposes. So I'll just save that top one for another project, and I'll start to adhere my images. The first thing I'm going to add is the little barn, and I'm going to stick that up in the top right corner because I want it to look like it's far in the distance so it doesn't look out of balance with the scale of the rest of the images. So it's going to create some depth in that scene, especially when I add that cow right up front. And I'm also putting him over the edge of the frame just a little bit to even make him look further forward in the scene. In the little square next to him, I'm going to add the pig and the forward-facing chick. My sheep is going in the bottom right square, and again, I'm overlapping the edge of the frame with him just to kind of add a little bit of whimsy to the scene. And then in my last space, I'm going to add the hay bale and the mother hen. And then I'm going to add one of her little chicks right up on top of the hay bale so she can be looking up at him. And then I'll add the egg towards the right corner of the hay bale. And the last little chick is going to go right between the mother hen and the hay bale. So he's kind of also looking up at his sibling up there. I trimmed out my sentiment with one of the Everyday Sentiment banners, and I'm going to add it right in the center of the card. But I decided that I wanted it to have a little bit of dimension, so I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of that, and then I can just peel off those backer sheets and line that back up right in the middle there and pop that down into place. And that is going to complete our card for today. I'll lift that up to the camera to give you a closer look and another peek at the inside. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I want to thank Kari so much for inviting me to be her special guest. Check the link below the video to go to Kari's part of the collab, and if you missed any of her other Lawn Fawn Week videos, you can go back and watch those as well. If you enjoyed today's card, please be sure to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. I would love to have you. Here's 2 extra videos from previous collabs that Kari and I have done, so hopefully those will tide you over until my next one. Until then, have a great day. Bye-bye.